Hey y'all, what's up? It's your girl, the Binge and B. What you watching on TV? Well, I am watching episode 8 and what I presume to be the finale of it. Welcome to Derry. Recap and review. So first off, when I started watching this, I don't think I looked at the time. I didn't realize it was a 2-hour episode, which it was. And I have a lot of thoughts about the episode. So I'm just going to kind of run through a little quicker on the recap portion of it. A little faster than what I normally do because I really want to get to my thoughts on the episode. So episode 8 opens up with, now there's a really interesting shot. They're in a barber shop, right? And so the barber, as he is tending to one of his clients, he looks out on the street and he notices that people are like frozen into place. Everybody's standing still and looking at something. So he goes out and he looks down the street and there's like a fog, like a big cloud of mist that's like kind of rolling through the city. What we notice next is that as the cloud touches any type of vegetation, like the trees and shit, start dying. So I'm like, okay. We also notice they show us the military base where the soldiers are monitoring the radars, and so they actually see this cloud rolling in as well. Naturally, people see this shit and they start running. You know, they kind of go into businesses and stuff to try to get out of the way of whatever this is that's coming in. They then show a kid standing in a doorway of one of the businesses who has like that really weird, eerie smile that Penny likes to give when he inhabits somebody else's body. So we go to the school. Now where we're at the school, there's an announcement that comes over the PA system, and the announcement basically says, all the upperclassmen, you guys can go home, but everybody else, we need you to report to the auditorium. For the people that were following really into the auditorium are the patty cake. You got the 3 little girls, they going in there, and you know, it's a little bit of kind of chaotic. You know, the kids are all rushing in. Well, one of the things they notice is that there are no adults in the room. So they're kind of like, oh, that's weird. Nobody, no teachers or nothing, you know. Then on the stage, we have what appears to be the principal. He basically comes out, he makes some sort of vague announcement, but he's super pale. Obviously, you can tell this dude is dead, you know what I'm saying? And then Pennywise reveals himself. So the principal's dead, the kids all freak out. Pennywise does his dance, his little signature dance step that he'd like to do. And then he shines his light to consume all the kids, right? So all the kids are in this trance. And then the backdrop behind him falls, and then we see what looks like a circus car. And then we go into the intro. So after the credits roll, we are then taken back to the tower where all the kids used to meet up. Well, our set of friends. And the girls are actually up there cleaning up. As they're cleaning, they notice this mist that's kind of rolling into the town, but they're above it, so they can see it. And they're kind of like, what the hell? So as they approach the edge of the little balcony where they are, they then turn around and notice that there's a wall behind them full of missing posters. So basically this is all the missing kids from school. Something prompts for the girls to go back to the school to kind of check on, you know, what's going on, because a lot of these kids they recognize from school. So the girls get back to the school, they pull up. First thing they notice the principal's head. Out of there. They're freaking out, and then as they're standing there, a missing poster of Will pops up. So the missing poster of Will appears to them as they're at the school. Obviously, they go into go mode. They're like, oh shit, our boy Will is missing. We gotta go get him. So they're looking around. They don't see any like activity going on, but they do notice a blood trail. So they're like, oh, that must be the direction that Will must have gone to, right? Because when they get there, there's nobody at the school. They start to get on a bike to ride the rest of the way of the blood trail, but it's kind of hard. It's all 3 of them on there. The bike is moving slow. So they just like, oh, this shit is not going to work. Well, as they get a few more feet down the way, down the little driveway or the street that they're on, they notice a dead milkman over there on the corner. But right next to them is his big old shiny milk truck. So Marge decides she's going to steal the milk truck and she is going to drive them the rest of the way. So they hop in the milk truck and now they're on their way. This is where we get to Major. I believe Major went back to his house. Remember, they moved from the house back to the base in order to stay safe. So I think some kind of way he made his way to their house. So he's calling back home to get in touch with Will. Nobody answers the phone. He hangs up and then the phone rings back and it's Pennywise. I don't know why that moment with Pennywise laughing on that phone, that tickled the shit out of me. I laughed at that shit for maybe 3 minutes. I don't know why. But basically Pennywise reveals to him that, hey, I have Will, and you know, that obviously sends him into a frenzy. So he takes off. Now we go we got Hanlon. Hanlon is back at the base, and he's in his room, and he's now being tormented by all the dead people that he can see. Remember, he unlocked his box in his mind, so now he can see all the dead people that ever existed, and it's driving him crazy. So he's actually on the brink of offing himself, and he's got his pistol in his hand. So he actually puts the pistol to his chin, and just as he does that, Major busts in the door. Basically, there's an exchange between them where Major is like, hey, I need you to help me go get my son. Hanlon is like, yo, I'm tired of this shit. I don't want to be bothered. And Major pleads with him, and it's like, dude, I know you over this shit. I will do it for you if you just help me go get my baby, you know? So Hanlon agrees. They connect. The next part that I can recall is where they make it to Rose's place. Remember, she's a native lady. They get to Rose's house. Charlotte's there. Grogan is there. Rose is there. Taniel is there. I've been calling this boy Daniel the whole show. His name is Taniel. That's weird. But so anyway, they're all there, and basically they are kind of strategizing on how to go and get Will. Major lets Charlotte know that Will is with the thing, and she spazzes out, slaps shit out his ass. But you know, he's like, hey baby, we're gonna go get him. Don't worry about it. So they go into this whole thing where they are talking about a strategy. I think this is where Rose is explaining to them. She basically goes into this thing where how they have to get the shard. The shard has to go back to a special tree. That tree marks the spot where they can actually contain the entity. They need Hanlon to help find them the shard. They need him to help guide them to the shard because they don't know where the shard is. He's tired as hell. He's upset. He's like, hey, I can't even turn my brain off. How the fuck do y'all expect me to see what this thing is? Rose goes in her kitchen and she doctors up some kind of root that she gave him and was able to quiet the dead spirits in his mind, but then he's able to tap into where the shard is, or the dagger. They call it a dagger. From there, he instantly can see that Lily has the dagger. Rosa also reveals that the longer you have the dagger and the further away you get from its starting point, it tends to make you go mad. Right, okay, so that's a thing. So we get to the girls. The girls are traveling. They're in the milk truck. Ronnie wants Marge to go faster, which is weird to me because Marge is like, hey, I'm going fast as I can go. They end up crashing the milk truck. As they crash, Lily drops the dagger just outside of the milk truck. So when they crash, they all kind of come to, and then Lily's like, oh shit, I lost the dagger. So they're looking for the dagger. They end up finding it. The other girls, I think Marge went to go grab it, and Lily is like, don't touch it. She freaks out, which is starting to make sense because Lily is starting to lose her grip and stuff. They fight over the shard a little bit. Now, while that's going on, Hanlon is able to see this in his mind, and so this is what he's communicating to the group. The rest of this episode is really pretty, it seems to me to just be filled with stuff, right? There's not anything. I guess the one other thing I'll mention that's substantial to me, well, there are two other things that are substantial. The first thing is that as the girls get closer, they crash the truck, they find the shard, they realize, oh, Lily, you're losing your fucking mind. We're going to pass the shard off to each other, or the dagger. We're going to pass it in between us after so long so that neither one of us goes crazy. As they continue to travel, they actually get to the end of that trail and they see the kids. And so the circus car is way up ahead, but they see the trail of kids levitating behind the circus car. This is where I think I started losing my connection to the story. Like, I think it started to get kind of campy and I wasn't really that into it. I don't know. Hear me out. The kids are levitating. Now Hanlon knows where they all are. And so they all rush over to where the kids are and to where the dagger is. Essentially, the dagger needs to be planted in this particular point under this tree so that Pennywise can't get beyond that point. Also, we have the simultaneous mission of trying to rescue Will at the same time. So the girls, they actually see Will. They running. They're following these kids as they levitate. They're running. They finally catch up to Will. They see him and they're actually able to kind of pull him down. Well, this is where Pennywise realizes it's a break in the chain, and so he comes out of the circus car, and so the rest of it seems obvious, right? There's a little bit of tormenting. He tortures them, but they've got the shard, so you can't really touch them, and it just was a little all over the place for me. The next significant point where it made me sit up was where, as all of this is happening, the adults now have gotten there. Charlotte, Grogan, Rosa, Taniel, Major, and Hanlon, they've all gotten there to the scene, and so they can actually see the girls and Will. I believe it was Taniel. Now, also, on the way to the place, Hanlon is so tired and exhausted, they got his ass laid out in the back of a van. So he actually stays in the van. He doesn't get out and go with them as they go to pursue Will. Taniel and Major actually physically get out to go and retrieve Will. They get up there, they get to Will, and I believe they needed to get to the shard. So meanwhile, while all this is going on, of course, Pennywise is doing his thing. There's an exchange between Pennywise and Marge. Marge, I believe, is a major point in this, which I feel like I should recognize her because I've seen the other movies. And basically, he reveals to her that he knows her son, but he freezes in place when he gets up on her. So she breaks free and goes back to where the other kids are. Also, keep in mind, on the other side of the river, now where this tree is located, there's, I guess, there's an embankment of the other side of the river, right? So the military, now they're on the other side of the embankment. So you got the colonel or the general, the head dude, he's over there watching all this going on with binoculars. When Major and Taniel make it to the kids, they get the dagger and they're running towards the tree. So as they're running towards the tree, the military open up on them. They shoot both Major and Taniel. Taniel, he dies, which is very sad. Major is wounded pretty badly. His son runs over to him. Meanwhile, I forgot to mention Will snapped out of it, right? Like, I'm all over the place, just like I felt like this shit was unfolding. But Will approaches his dad. He's scared. Everybody else heard the gunshot. So now Charlotte and all them, they done ran up. Rosa and Charlotte, they're all running up to try to catch up with them. Handling the seal in the van. Will goes up to his dad, and his dad is like, hey, I need you to get this dagger over there to that tree. Will is like, I'm scared. I'm not you. He's like, don't be me. Just get it over there. You're strong enough. I believe in you. Right. So he gives Will the dagger and trusts Will to get the dagger the rest of the way. The other kids go with him. So Marge, Lily, Ronnie, and Will are all pulling this dagger. And the further it's getting from its point, it has resistance, right? So it's hard for them to all, it's taking all four of them to push this dagger to that point in the tree where they have to bury it to keep it contained. Somehow Pennywise is still frozen. I don't really understand what made him freeze in that spot at that moment. And I don't understand how he stayed frozen for so long. Anyway, as he stays frozen, Major, or the general dude, sees him with the binoculars. He goes up to him. As Pennywise thaws out or defrosts or whatever the fuck he did, he comes back to, he's mobile again. And General is like, oh, well, don't worry about it, you're free. But Pennywise recognizes his stench and he ends up biting his head off. Okay. And we get a little bit of a backstory. It goes back and forth. They show us a couple of flashes as to where Pennywise returned back to the circus in 1908 when Iris was a little girl. I think this is a vision that Hanlon was having. But when he returned back, obviously he was himself, but he wasn't himself. So now he's not RG, he is it in RG's body. That to me needed way more unfolding. Anyway, that was a vision that Hanlon had. So we see that in the midst of all of the chaos that's going on with them trying to get this dagger over to the tree. The kids are having some trouble after it eats the head of the general dude. He is then now going to try to intercept the kids and the dagger. So he's running towards them. As that's happening, Richie appears with the warrior native lady. They appear. Richie then goes to help the kids to push the dagger into the hole where it needed to be buried. I think the short of this is that basically the kids get the dagger into place. They feel Richie's presence or whatever. The military guys are actually, before the general gets killed, he tells them, go get Hanlon and I want you to kill Major Leroy. So they go and they retrieve Hanlon. Leroy, he lives. They don't kill him. He lives. And I think the other guy, the right-hand man guy, gets killed. So I know that I'm explaining this kind of not in the best or most organized way, but this is really, even with notes, I took notes on this shit, y'all. Right? I took notes. Even with the notes, I felt like it was jumbled. I still have so many unanswered questions. There were just certain things that didn't make sense to me. Now, I know some folks have a lot of time to research all the lore. And so some of these moments probably made sense to y'all. They did not make any sense to me. I don't understand why Pennywise stayed frozen so long. I still don't understand how he inhabited RG's body, but he stays in RG's body. Why is Pennywise his go-to form, right? If he can jump between bodies and go into all these different people and he shows up in these different ways and he can even create images or visions for people to see, what is it about Pennywise that seems to be his default? You see what I'm saying? Like, that's my question. And maybe that's just a me question. I think in my mind, I'm like, well, maybe that's because that's what occurs, that's what attracts the most children. Or that don't make no sense to me. I did not get any answers to those questions while I was watching it. I'm just really not that thrilled with the finale, y'all. I'm so disappointed to have watched this whole season and then end up leaving with more questions that I had before it started. Although that could be setting us up for a season 2, because at the end of this, obviously it's the typical story, right? So they get the dagger to the tree, they bury it, it is contained, it don't die. Then looks like the next day or a couple of days after, everybody's recuperating and getting back into their normal swing of things. They're at the funeral. There's a sweet moment with Richie at Richie's funeral where Hannah, who, remember, he wanted to like not live anymore because of all the pressure and seeing all the dead people and all this stuff. Well, he's at the funeral, but he's kind of standing back off in the distance, and he has a vision of Richie, and Richie's actually hugging his friends as they sit there at his little funeral, which was a very sweet moment. That was cute. Also, Major and his wife and Will are packing up to get their ass out of town, which seems like the logical thing to do. However, Rose proposes that, you guys understand this thing. You've been in the thick of it with us. Why don't you stay? We'll fight this motherfucker together. They're like, I'm not feeling it. I think we're going to pass on it. So they pack up, they get in their car. Before they get in their car, though, there's also a moment between Ronnie and Will where they finally kiss, which is very sweet. Ronnie, her father, and I believe his mother, so her little family, they end up hitting and going out of town. However, Will, Major, and Charlotte end up staying there with Rose. I presume they're going to remain there, and they're going to fight this bastard in 27 years when this shit pop up again. Yeah, that was it, episode 8. So, again, my thoughts. I think I've expressed my thoughts pretty much through this whole video, right? I'm not feeling this episode. I'm pissed off that it's the finale. I'm pissed off that I have so many more questions. Obviously, we know that it couldn't die because this is a prequel, right? To all the other shit that's done happen after the fact. So I didn't really have a major expectation that they would like eliminate or kill the thing, but I still don't understand what it was about RG that makes him the default form of it. Why does it decide to be the clown instead of Paul Bunyan? If it took the form of Paul Bunyan, that would make more sense to me, because Paul Bunyan is like a figure that is prominent with this area. Everybody would recognize it and be like, oh, we recognize. There just has to be something about that man in particular that made it decide to make his default form into Pennywise. We also get to see Iris at the end of the episode. She's placed into Juniper Hill in the asylum, and she looks like she lives out her days there. And it fast forward, I believe, 30 years or something like that, when we see her actually talking to some girl that is there visiting a family member of hers who has ended her life, and we recognize her. I recognize her as the little girl from It remake, which I forgot her name. I should know her name, but I don't, so fuck it. Yeah, those are my thoughts. I'm just really disappointed. I'm really disappointed with the 8th episode of It, Welcome to Derry. So I will say that in order to have my questions answered, I do hope that there is a season 2. I don't know how there could be a season 2 if the thing is asleep for 27 years. Would season 2 then pick up 27 years later, or do we follow the lives and my dog is having an allergy attack? Or do we spend that time analyzing the lives and the lore of it up to the 27 years? Right? Child. I don't know. But yeah, that was it, y'all. This was the first season of It, Welcome to Derry. I guess that's all I got to say about that shit. It's your girl, the Benjamin B. I'm definitely finna find me something else to watch on TV. Bye.